We are back here on the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show. Our focus at this point, the human side of donation. What does that all mean? Well, Donate Life Pennsylvania has a current campaign going on, and you're going to be glad you tuned in today. Here to talk about it, two individuals. Pastor Donald Tucker is with the Allegheny Center Alliance Church, and he had a liver transplant. Is that correct? A liver transplant 5 years ago?
Liver. 10 years ago,
10
March
years
the
ago.
25th, 1 a.m. in the morning.
Excuse me, I'm scared of you. And Lisa Upshur is with the Minority Organ Tissue Transplant Education Program at the Center for Organ Recovery and Education, or CORE. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So, Pastor Tucker, let me start with you. How much did you know about organ donation before your personal experience?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I didn't think people of color got transplants or things like that. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't a thought.
You didn't think we got them because we didn't need them, or you just thought we weren't involved?
I just didn't think we weren't involved.
Okay.
You know.
And then one day you found yourself in need of an organ.
I went to just get a physical with my regular, PCP doctor, and he found a scar. And the next thing I know, another doctor who is a member of the church, Dr. George Mazaregas at Children's Hospital, pediatrician specialist, looked at my chart and felt that, I think you're going to have a transplant. Yeah, please. Okay, whatever. I was a bodybuilder, weightlifter, stayed in good health. Went to the hospital, and they started running tests on me out at UPMC Starsville. And sure enough, I needed a transplant.
Yeah, okay, let me stop your story right there. Lisa, let me ask you, now how common is he when he says he never thought that we as a group of people were even involved in the transplant process?
That's very common. It's just not a conversation that's held in the minority community until it affects someone in their family. But other than that, it's a conversation that we just don't talk about. And if it is approached or talked about, fear comes into play with it.
Right.
You know, lack of education, fear of health care as a whole. They have some concerns as far as religious beliefs. All of those things play factors. And the fact that there's been so many things done in the minority community concerning health, transplant is just like another word that they don't even discuss.
That they don't want to
come
hear.
up.
Now, did you feel all of those things that she said?
Absolutely, every one of them. I was terrified when it became a reality that, okay, this is really going to happen. And I don't know what to do.
So how'd you move past that?
God. God. My surgeon was a believer. Anyone that has anything to do with my case today are believers. My doctors, my coordinators, my nurses that didn't know Christ until they worked with me are now members of the church, have been on mission trips. And he assured me, he said, listen, you have the best of both worlds. If you make it through this, it's because he's got work for you to do still. If you don't, you're going where we all want to get to one day.
There you go. That's one way to
So
look at it.
you don't lose. And at that moment, it was calm. 4 days later, I woke up.
And that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, I've never been back in the hospital. I've never had any rejection. And I attribute all those things to just the goodness of God.
Now, Lisa, let me ask you this, because I know from just watching Pastor Tucker on YouTube that he didn't have a long wait for an organ. And sometimes we have visions of people waiting, indefinitely waiting for a long time. I counter that a lot of times with people and say if more people would sign up, more people would get involved, that maybe the wait time wouldn't be as long.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Reverend Tucker was blessed.
Yeah.
The
Extremely.
common wait for anyone is a minimum of 4 to 6 years.
Wow.
So therefore, that was a blessing. We need to educate everyone because basically there's not enough organs to go around, period. And the fact that we've made great strides in the African American community.
More work to do.
The fact that there's only 13% population across the United States. 16% African Americans have registered to be donors. So we do believe in donation, but it's still just not enough. The fact that if everyone signs up to be an organ donor, it would cut that wait. I mean, the importance of being an organ donor and saving lives is futile. I mean, you know, we have over 118,000 people that are waiting.
Wow.
Every day we lose 21 to 22 people while they're waiting on the list. every day. And then every 10 minutes, you're adding another person to the list.
To the list.
Yep. So it's just a vicious circle that continues to go around, because a lot of times people don't realize that if you should die outside of the hospital, you can't be an organ donor. You can do tissue, you can do corneas, you can do all of those things, but you can't save a life.
Because the organ can't be saved at that point.
That is correct.
Okay.
That
all
is
right.
correct.
So that's kind of where part of this education process comes in.
Absolutely. And you know, now one thing, and we'll speak from Reverend Tucker's genre of being in the church, you know, the fact that people say, I'm taking my organs with me. And the question is, where are you taking them to?
Where are you taking them?
You know, the fact that, you know.
We ain't taking nothing with us.
No, we ain't going anywhere with it. And the fact that, you know, if you choose not to sign up to be an organ donor, those are lives that you're letting be lost. You know, and it's a continued uphill battle for us just talking to the population as a whole. You know, oh, you know, my religion is against this. Oh, you don't want my organs because I'm too sick. You know, all of these.
Or you're not going to try to save us.
Yeah, you know, that's the
Right,
biggest
yeah.
myth, you know, that people believe that truly
Believe
if you
things,
sign up
yeah.
to be an organ donor, that someone's going to let them die.
Not
Bottom
true.
line is they can go to the website, donatelifepa.org
Amen.
/registration. Get more information.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you touched
Save
on
a
that.
life.
Because when folks start talking about the Tuskegee experiment with me, I'm like, you know what? We need to let that go.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to
Yeah.
focus on 2017.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for sharing
having
your
us.
story. That's amazing. You're awesome.
He's amazing.
There you go.
There you
He's
go.
amazing.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a new production coming to town, the Scottsboro Boys. You're going to want to stick around for that. Don't go away when the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show continues.